10 list is the top 10 Percy Jackson quotes that make us cry. That is right, I'm going over the top 10 moments when Riordan made us all start sobbing while he was cackling maliciously in the background. Watch me list them as I attempt not to cry while filming this video. And as always, when I say Percy Jackson, I don't just mean Percy Jackson and the Olympians, but all the series that surround it. With that, let's begin discussing the top 10 Percy Jackson quotes that make us cry. Disclaimer, I will not be held accountable if you bawl your eyes out while watching this video. 10. From now on, I would be more than Lester. I would be more than an observer. I would be Apollo. I would remember. Oh no, oh dear, we're already on the first one, I'm already gonna cry. My God, if our first quote is from the burning maze, and it only gets worse from here, you know it's gonna be a shit show. This is so sad. The end of the burning maze really hits you hard in the feels. The entire book really hits you hard in the feels. The emotional roller coaster of thinking that Jason can't really be gone, and then realizing that he is, and he isn't coming back. And Lester, who is far from over it, hasn't really been able to come to much of a resolution about the situation, but if there's one thing he does know is that he's going to keep his promise to Jason, and he will remember. No matter what happens, he owes that much to Jason. He has learned what it means to be human, the guilt that he feels. This, I thought, was being human. Standing on the tarmac, watching mortals load the body of a friend and hero into the cargo hold, knowing that he would never come back, saying goodbye to a grieving young woman who had done everything to help us, and knowing that you could never repay her, never compensate her for all that she had lost. 9. I'm coming back for you, Calypso, Leo said to the Night Wind. I swear it on the river Styx. Yep, Leo's just made his first, but certainly not last, entry on this list. Honestly, I know a lot of people don't like Leo, but you can't deny that it was really sad when Leo swore to come back for Calypso, knowing that if he broke that oath, a terrible fate would await him, but he didn't care. He knew that he had to come back for her, and Calypso's been abandoned by every person she has ever let herself fall in love with, believes that Leo's promise is empty too, that he won't come back. What's even more depressive is that she had no idea Leo was willing to risk everything to find her again. She heard him promise to return, yes, but Leo had already sailed away from Ujijio when he swore on the Styx to come back for her. Calypso didn't know it, but Leo was going to willingly have one of the worst fates imaginable if he couldn't be with her. Even if you don't like them as a couple, you've got to admit this one was heartbreaking. 8. Psyche had been right. Cupid was a monster. Love was the most savage monster of all. Yep, we're talking about the Cupid scene. This may not be the most well-known quote from that scene, and trust me, I was debating a lot which Cupid scene quote I should add. That's the big secret. I hated myself. I hated Percy Jackson. Tell him you are a coward, afraid of yourself and your feelings. Tell him the real reason you ran from Camp Applin and why you're always alone. Yeah, there are a lot of depressing lines from this scene, but this one is the most depressing because it's depressing regardless of context. Like, you can just hear this quote without even reading the book, and you know it came from a depressing scene. I mean, Jason does spend most of this scene pretty confused and not really understanding what's going on, which I find a little stupid, because really, Jason? Not 5 minutes earlier, you were talking to a wind god who very specifically told you, yes, Jason Grace, I fell in love with a dude. Does that shock you? My point is, this scene is very sad. 7. Just go back to your father. This one's just, wow. This is one of the biggest moments where we're just flat out disappointed in Percy. In his defense, Nico had just betrayed him twice, and Percy had a war to win. But damn, Percy just told Nico to go back to a father who told him he wasn't worth very much and wasn't good enough, and that he would rather that Nico be dead instead of his sister. A father who took advantage of his 12-year-old child who just wants some answers about a mother that he doesn't remember at all. This scene is absolutely heartbreaking. 6. You promised you would protect her. You promised. It gets more depressing from here. This is gonna be hard. I'm pretty sure this is the last Nico-related quote on this list, though, so at least there's that. This moment is just so sad. He has just learned that his sister is dead, and that quote reminds us as readers of Bianca's death more than any other moment. Also, while we're talking about the death of someone who did not deserve to die, did you notice the parallels between Nico asking, "Where's my sister?" at the end of Titan's Curse, and Leo asking, "Where's Jason?" at the end of the Burning Maze? The parallels, and both of those people are dead. Sorry. Also, think about how in Mark of Athena, Percy makes Nico promise to lead the crew of the Argo 2 to the doors of death. That's likely the whole reason why Nico didn't leave after the Cupid scene. Remember what he says to Jason? I'm going to honor my promise, I'm going to lead you to Epirus, then that's it. I'm leaving forever. 5. Humor was a good way to hide the pain. No, Leo. Leo is such a sad character and he tries to cover that pain with humor. He just wants to stop hurting so much. It's not even just that quote either, it's what surrounds it. He was a class clown, the Court Jester, because he learned early that if you cracked jokes and pretended you weren't scared, you usually didn't get beat up. And if that didn't work, there was always plan B. Run away. Over and over. He has spent his entire life running away and never finding his family, and his entire character is about hiding his trauma through jokes. The very first thing he says when he is introduced is, "Yeah, right, Jason. We've all been framed. I didn't run away 6 times. And in Lost Hero, he finally realizes that he is a family with Jason and Piper. He's finally found a home. He's learned to stop running, and that quote is just... my God. 4. Bob says hello. I'm sorry, I did warn you. It's just so sad what happens to him. What I find interesting is that Percy spends the entirety of the first series fighting for the gods and trying to convince the misled demigods that they shouldn't try to overthrow Olympus. And while he's doing the same in Heroes of Olympus, Percy's anger really festers. He realizes how pointless it all is. In Mark of Athena, when he and Jason are battling the twin giants at the Colosseum with Bacchus standing right there, using them as his entertainment instead of helping, Percy is livid. He is so angry at the gods for using him as their asset. And in the next book, he realizes that he treated Bob the same way. He just wiped his memories, took advantage of him, and only ever talked to him when he needed something from him. And when Percy and Annabeth are about to be killed by the REA, is that how you pronounce it? Percy pleads for Bob to help him. But even he knows that Bob has no reason to do that now Bob knows the truth. And they weren't friends just because Percy needed him. But Bob fights for Percy anyway. And when Percy and Annabeth have to leave Bob and Jameson behind, it's so sad because Percy is once again using Bob for his own advantage. Only this time, Bob fights for Percy and Annabeth entirely willingly, and not just because he thought they were his friends. He gives up his own chance to see the world again for Percy and Annabeth. And since he'll never get to see the stars, he asks Percy to tell the stars hello for him. It's just heartbreaking. Also, did you ever think about the fact that Bob/Iapetus, I'm sorry for mispronouncing this stuff, I'm sorry, is Atlas's father and therefore Zoe's grandfather? And when Zoe died, she was turned into a group of stars? Which actually leads us into number 3. I can see the stars again, m'lady. Every time I think it can't get any worse, this happens. Not another character death quote. Zoe's last words were absolutely heartbreaking. She is such an amazing and strong character, and it is so sad when she dies. This girl has spent legit over 2,000 years being bitter and hurt over the family who disowned her. And the hero that she risked everything to help never even mentioned her name. She starts this quest thinking there's no way in hell that she will ever trust Percy or grow to like him or think of him as her friend. But then, as she says her almost last words, she tells him, "You saw the truth, Percy Jackson. You are nothing like Hercules. I am honored that you carry this sword." Also, saying Hercules' name as she dies after swearing never to speak his name again, keeping that oath for 2,000 plus years, and finally saying it to tell Percy that he is a true hero. Zoe was so much of a hero that Artemis created a new constellation to honor her so that she could live forever in the stars. 2. Family, Luke. You promised. You're part of our family now. And I promise I won't let anything hurt you. I'm not gonna fail you like our families failed us. Deal? Deal! Oh no, not this one. Please excuse me while I go hide in a corner and cry. Luke's story is just so gut-wrenching. And after not having a ton of sympathy for him throughout the first 4 books, except, at the start of The Lightning Thief, having his backstory revealed to you brings you to tears. And despite everything that has happened to him, despite all the ways that he has been used by the gods, despite having his body possessed by the ancient Lord of Time, just the fact of Annabeth reminding Luke that he promised she, Luke, and Thalia would always be a family is enough to bring Luke back. Is enough to make his willpower stronger than that of the Lord of the Titans. Truly beautiful, but truly sad. 1. Promise me one thing. Whatever happens, when you go back to Olympus, when you're a god again, remember remember what it's like to be human.
Can I make like Apollo at the beginning of the Burning Maze and just flat out refuse to talk about this?
This one is painful. Jason's death is just so sad, and he is willing to go down fighting to show Lester what it's like to be human. He is willing to die to help them with their quest, on the one condition that Lester simply remembers what it's like to be human. Jason's pure selflessness in the Burning Maze is just incredible, and the absolute tragedy is so devastating. Other character deaths have been very tear-worthy, but with Jason, we're kind of going through it with the characters. Because when they first travel away from the boat, Piper keeps saying he's not dead. And we are right there with her, not believing he's actually gone. He just can't be, and we refuse to believe it. And then Lester just kind of brings us back to reality. People die. Tragedy happens. And we may be surprised that it happened, but that doesn't make it any less real and painful. It doesn't change the fact that no amount of inspirational Tumblr quotes will make you happy after tragedy occurs. And there is no resolution. There is no, oh yeah, Jason died and we're all sad, but we're over it now. There is no, tragedy happened, but we're okay now. Because it doesn't work like that. There will never be a time when you're okay with it. And that story doesn't need a resolution. That's the lesson. Anyways, guys, that's it for the top 10 saddest Percy Jackson quotes. Let me know in the comments what are some of the saddest Percy Jackson moments to you, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye!